This is the Wandering Mike.
Welcome everyone to the Wandering Mike. Today I'm here with Oscar. Hey Oscar, what's up?
What's up, mate? How's it going?
Pretty good. Been a nice day so far. Nice productive day. Just had my lunch.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, now I'm looking forward to our conversation. Finding out everything there is about you. No, but no, it's gonna be a nice conversation. So to get us started into it, if you do just wanna introduce yourself in a few words. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your life, anything you want to share to us with.
Yeah, sure thing. So, yeah, my name's Oscar. I'm 22 years old. I am from New Zealand, from Hawke's Bay, which is on the east coast of the North Island. I'm from a family of five, so two loving, supporting parents and two older brothers. All of us are about 2-3 years apart.
Right.
So, yeah, there was never really a dull moment in my childhood. There's always lots of going on, lots of people around, lots of things to do. Yeah, Hawke's Bay is a setting, pretty awesome place to grow up. Probably one of the warmer areas in New Zealand,
Mm,
maybe tied with Nelson, potentially. Um, Good access to beaches, a few nice mountains nearby. And yeah, post high school, I moved down to Christchurch for 4 years, studied civil engineering there. So that was 2020 to 2023. And yeah, post uni, have decided to take a bit of a gap year. So yeah, last year I did a bit of traveling around Asia, and now I'm down in Queenstown working at a lodge on the Rootburn track. And yeah, that's a brief summary of my life.
nice. Um, yeah, there are some things that I definitely want to get into a little bit more detail about, and then we can see where that gets us. But Hawke's Bay, because I didn't have a chance to get to that part of the North Island, because
Mm,
when I arrived in Auckland because like most international flights, I feel like are cheapest to Auckland.
yeah, for sure.
So I did arrive in there, and then I kind of didn't have a set plan or like any expectation of where I wanted to go.
You came to New Zealand with no travel itinerary planned at all.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a good way to do it.
Pretty much. I really just came into Auckland, booked myself a hostel there for a week to just get like all the logistical stuff
Yeah,
done as well, like get the bank account, get the IRD number, and yeah, basically those two were the main important ones. And figuring out where there was a job that I was interested in. So
mm,
I came here with the idea of finding a job relatively quickly,
mm,
just so to not run out of money.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, basically just jumped online on this platform called Backpacker Board and
Oh yeah,
just was looking for opportunities. I had in my head like a lot of things you hear about the working holiday as, like food picking, farm work and stuff like
mm,
that. Um, but also you hear a lot about hospitality jobs,
mm.
hostels and restaurants, cafes as well. Um,
When did you arrive in New Zealand? Was it January? So
y-
sort of midsummer.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was almost a year ago now
Wow.
because sadly I'm about to leave very soon. So yeah, it was like the highest of summer. Like the sun was so brutal in Auckland.
Yeah.
Because I was doing on my first, like on the second day or something, I was doing like a walk that takes you through Auckland. There's like a city walk that takes you
Oh yeah.
through all the parks. So I did that one from the north of the city to the south of the city, um, and obviously got burned.
Just all day in the sun, straight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm still to learn that the sun can be really harsh here
Yeah,
in
the
New
the
Zealand.
UV index is, because we've just got no ozone in New Zealand.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely gets you, especially when you're not expecting it.
Yeah, I feel like that's just something for you guys. It's like a nature, right? You go outside, you put out sunscreen. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
it's just drilled into us from such a young age. Whereas, and you would have come from Germany too, which would have been middle of winter.
yeah. Well, to be fair, um, I did come from Germany, but I also was working in Portugal before I came
Okay.
here. So I was working in Portugal for almost 4 years, and then after I quit my job there, I did go over to for Christmas break back to Germany just so to see my family and friends.
Nice.
And then yeah, left there the end of January. So I still had like a month there with my family before I actually left. And in Portugal it was winter too, but obviously different temperatures. So the winter in
Right.
Portugal aren't as harsh as they are in Germany.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But
So a little ease into it, you could say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, but Hawke's Bay, because for me then from Auckland it was off to Christchurch because that's
Mm.
where I found like an interesting job in a hostel, like a old jail hostel.
Oh.
So it's called the jailhouse accommodation in Christchurch, and it actually is a hostel that they just built in the property of an old jail. Um, yeah,
What road was it on?
in Addington on Lincoln Road, next to the Burger King there, if you area.
No, to be honest, I didn't really go out of the university area of
Right.
Christchurch, not too much. So,
It's like next to Rickerton. It's not Rickerton, but
yeah,
it's south of Rickerton.
right. Yeah, I've definitely heard of Addington. Addington Racecourse. Is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty close. The rugby stadium is close to there as well, like where
right.
the Crusaders play.
Oh, yeah.
That's like right next door, like 5 minutes from there.
Oh, nice.
So it's like
Yeah, I've
kind
probably drove past it a few times.
yeah. The raceway is next to yeah. It's all there, like
Yeah.
the raceway, the rugby stadium, and like another stadium as well where they do like concerts and stuff. It's like this
Yeah. Cool.
big venue. Um, so I don't know if it's Hawke's Bay because the kind of region to the east. I don't know if that's just Tauranga, but isn't it called the Bay of Plenty? Is that where Hawke's
Yeah.
Bay
So
is?
further south, um,
Right.
have you been to Taupo?
I have actually.
So 2 hours south of Taupo.
Right.
So Taupo is central, and then if you head southeast towards the east coast from Taupo, you'll get to Hawke's Bay. The two
Hmm.
cities in Hawke's Bay are Hastings and Napier. I don't know
Right.
if you're more familiar with them, maybe.
I've I definitely heard and seen them when I was looking for jobs. So
Oh, yeah,
they did come
yeah.
up.
But yeah, no, it's a cool place. It's like uh, trying to think of like a South Island. It's similar to Nelson,
Right.
yeah, from what I've heard. But yeah, great place to grow up. Great place to grow up.
So I'm just assuming, or rather, asking because I feel like for Kiwis, a lot about growing up is also, and you did mention the beaches, so um, nature just does play a big role in y'all's
Mm,
life, because maybe more so than we in Europe realize, because we're not um, at all that connected with nature, even in more rural areas, sadly, then I have the feeling you people are
mm,
New Zealand are.
yeah.
So yeah, was that especially in Hawke's Bay where you were growing up a big part of it as well?
Yes, definitely. Um, Also having two older brothers that are
Mm,
right into their sports,
right.
that definitely, yeah, pushed from a young age. Is always like we were never really the ones that would stay inside and play
Mm.
video games or PlayStations or whatever. We'd always prefer to be outside. And yeah, when I was about 14, I got into surfing.
Oh, right.
So that's when the beaches started coming into play. So yeah, most weekends I'll be out at the local beaches. Uh, yeah, but I mean, in terms of hiking, Hawke's Bay doesn't have much going for it
Mm,
compared to here in Queenstown.
right.
I mean, here in Queenstown, just walk in any direction from where you're currently located, and you'll come across probably two or three tracks you've never done before. It's so good down here. Um, but yeah, I feel like anywhere in New Zealand's definitely got their fair share of outdoor activities right there.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I actually forgot about the surfing, which is funny because you actually just came back from a trip that y'all took to Riverton, was it right?
Yeah, yeah, we
And
went down to the South Coast.
got quite of a decent surf there, I would have heard.
Yeah, it probably wasn't as good as we were hoping, but
Hmm.
we got, yeah, 3 surfs in, 1 dive.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it was just cool just checking out that part of the coast. I've never really been there before,
Right.
and the weather was awesome. But yeah, the day we left, we scored some good waves. A bit of sore legs. I was only in the water for half an hour, but still fun to get out there nonetheless.
Yeah, so I wanted to use that chance to because I've never really talked about surfing on the podcast,
Mm,
and it is something that I have had the chance to experience. I wouldn't say at all that I know how to surf in any regard, but in Lisbon, I learned how to surf, and
cool,
I
cool.
actually in New Zealand surfed like a handful of times in Christchurch at Sumner Beach
Oh, nice,
as
nice.
well. So to me, surfing kind of has a special energy, but I don't want to say too much yet because I would want to hear from you. So what is it? What is it that surfing means to you? And what do you experience when you do?
Yeah, good question. Um, I don't know. I remember when I first started, went out with a friend, and at the start I was kind of not too into it, but I just kept being consistent, heading out,
Right.
and then eventually, maybe after a month, you just it's like many other sports, you get the bug,
Yeah.
and you just hooked from then onwards. But I guess it's just being on the ocean. Um, Whenever you go for a surf, you always come back feeling come out of the water feeling better than you did going back out, going in.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's always I, yeah, it's really hard to explain, but like just reading the ocean, you almost feel like you form a bit of a connection with it.
Yeah.
Because that's the one really different thing of surfing compared to other sports. You're on a wave which is changing constantly around you. Um, so you really need to hook into that energy, tap into that energy. Um, so I think there's a strong connection there that you get, and yeah, it's also the mission out there. Like it's not like there's constantly a tennis court there. You've got to
Yeah.
you've got to read the forecast beforehand, pick the right day, pick the right spot on the beach. So it's also the drive out there, which is a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, it's a great time to chill out with your mates and meet people. But yeah, it all just something about being in the ocean.
Yeah. I mean, everything kind of that people do and that like a lot of people share the same thing. Um, it's a nice socializing aspect to it, but maybe for surfing, even more so, I feel like everyone that does it is just really super friendly and is really
Yeah.
um, so chill and happy to help you with that hobby as well, and always
Mm.
trying to yeah, really have, in my experience, patience as well, and like um showing you, hey, try this, don't stand up too early, and like
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
taking the time and yeah, so I really had very positive experiences with surfers and just really good
Yeah.
interactions,
Oh,
like I
it's
said.
good to hear because it can definitely be a hard hobby to get into. especially some breaks. There's often quite a lot of localism, and
Mm,
there's like a bit of a pecking order out of the lineup with priority, for
right.
which for someone who has never surfed before can be quite intimidating.
True.
Um, and yeah, it's not easy to learn. It's not like you can just roll up and catch wave. It takes time going out there. Um, so it's good to hear that you had a good first experience.
Yeah. And like you said, I definitely also relate to the part because even before I ever started to learn surfing or yeah, just got on the surfboard, I always felt like uh the ocean itself, even without me surfing in it,
Mm,
just has that special energy. And
mm,
being in Lisbon for as long as I have, basically living next to the ocean and always be surrounded by
mm,
water, I kind of felt that and kind of feel the same, even though it's not the ocean. Queenstown as well, just being
around the
5 minutes
mountains.
away from the lake and being able to stroll by it every day, just gives a different energy. Just being close to water, mountains being a different thing as well. Being
Mm,
close to mountains, I feel like, yeah, nature just really has that kind of energy that you definitely feel that you're surrounded by when you are.
yeah, 100% agree with you there. And that's why, yeah, so like New Zealanders are so lucky having so many opportunities to get out in nature. Yeah, I mean, people say like it like from an evolutionary perspective, we are all from the sea.
Mm,
Maybe some deep rooted connection
true.
coming through from there. Yeah.
Well, and the ocean is also still to this day such a kind of mysterious place
Mm,
because obviously there's also places you have these deep rainforests in Indonesia and Borneo. You have these rainforests and you have the Amazonas, where there's also spots, obviously, where we don't know what's going on there in detail.
mm,
But and I have no idea if this is true, but my perception is that um, on the land we pretty much know what's going on,
yep. Yep.
but in the oceans, I just feel that there's still so much that we haven't discovered
Yeah.
because they're just huge and so deep at certain points where
Mm,
we all we see is the surface. We
yeah.
just look at it and we see the surface, but we have no idea what's going on
Yeah.
down there.
It's so foreign to us and so much of it's still undiscovered.
Yeah.
Have you ever dived? Scuba dive?
I have actually in Australia. I
Okay.
have done a like a guided one
Ah, cool.
down the Great Barrier Reef for like
Oh, that would
10
have
to
been,
15 minutes.
how was that?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, I never got my certification or anything to do it by myself. So Karen's being super touristy. I was so happy that they offered that for people without a
Mm,
certificate and just like took you down there. And
it's like a new world, eh?
it was to me also so peaceful,
Mm,
kind of being down there and just being able to observe and
mm.
see, yeah, that whole different world going on down there.
Yeah, it's just complete silence. Like the only thing you can hear is your breathing, really.
Yeah.
And then there's also the aspect of like not really having gravity. It almost feels like you're in space.
Yeah.
Not so much gravity, and you can just control your whether you go up and down with your breath. And there's something about connecting your breath with where you want to go uh,
Mm.
that really brings out a connection. Well, it puts you in the moment. Um, yeah.
Yes. For me, I think it was a little bit because at that moment it was the first time I ever was down there
Mm.
scuba diving in the water. So it was a little bit strange as well. And since I was only in there for like a couple of minutes, um, that movement
Mm.
was rather strange because it's nothing I experienced
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, like when you just talked about, I don't know if I actually realized up until now that that is how I was moving. I just kind of felt that I was moving differently than I would be um, just swimming or
Yeah.
any other way. So
Was
for me, it was kind of hard to control it at
mm.
first. I was like, "Whoa, just floating and floating away." And
Yeah, yeah. It's like breathe into your lungs and then it opens up all that air space. You become more buoyant.
mm,
But when you breathe out, you sink. So
right.
so yeah, there's a bit of a knack to it. And once you figure it out, it's so fun.
So that's something you enjoy as well, scuba diving?
I haven't done much of it. When I was over in Asia last year,
Oh, yeah.
I did a paddles course, just an introductory course.
Right.
So I've only done it for about 3 days,
Oh,
but
but
I'd love to do more of it. And yeah, it's so fun. I'll definitely be doing it. Paddles course, yeah.
yeah, I had friends, and actually, one of my professors in Indonesia,
Oh yeah.
um, he actually did his certification in Bali, I think.
Mm,
And I think my friend from Germany, I think it was Bali or maybe Malaysia. Yeah, but also somewhere there. And I just heard, well, obviously, the money perspective as well is it's a cheap
it's so much
place
cheaper. Yeah.
to do it.
Mm. And
Um,
the water's so beautiful too.
and that's the thing, like, because my professor that I was doing an internship with, so that's why
Mm.
we like had a lot of time to just talk as well. And after he done his certificate or certification, um, yeah, he was just always saying, "Oh, this weekend I went to this spot and like
Mm,
dove with sharks and stuff as well." Like he had so many stories.
mm.
Just yeah, Indonesia, Malaysia, all like there's so much around there.
Yeah.
That is just apparently spectacular. I haven't seen it for myself, but
Yeah. That's so worthwhile. If you spend a lot of time in Asia, it's yeah, definitely worthwhile in your license.
what were the places that you have been traveling to in Asia?
So I spent a month in Sri Lanka,
Mm,
a month in Bali,
right.
a month in Vietnam,
Oh, cool.
and a couple weeks in Borneo. And
Oh,
yeah.
so um, did you actually get to see some orangutans? That's always the first thing
No,
I
I
ask.
didn't, which is silly because it's what Borneo's known for.
Yeah.
um, I saw a few monkeys, but yeah, no raccoons. Yeah. But uh, have you been to Borneo before?
Yes. But
Whereabouts did you go?
also not really into the jungle. Um, yeah, I knew I would have. So I was in the capital of Borneo, but I'm blanking on the name
Oh,
right now.
Kota Kinabalu.
S-
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we didn't. I spent 2 nights there, so I didn't get too much into the jungle. I actually went there because of my professor as well, because he did like the whole someone taking you into the jungle,
Mm.
5 day safari kind of thing, and he
Oh,
loved it.
and he pulled you in.
And he was kind of the reason I spent like a weekend there. And it was because where I lived and studied in Indonesia for 1 year, basically was a suburb of Jakarta. So it
Okay.
was very city.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
and it was, even though I didn't go too deep into it, it was like the difference was very apparent. Like that
Mm.
Borneo is still, compared to Java, very wild, and
Mm.
just the nature is just more untouched
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. Cool. So what did you study?
I studied environmental engineering and
Oh, cool.
development work.
Oh, nice. And your So you did a master's or a
a
PhD?
bachelor's.
Cool.
So it was at that point just a bachelor's, and is basically an engineering degree.
Yeah.
Um, but like the little twerk about it was that development work was also incorporated. So that's
Right.
why, as part of the degree, we had to spend 1 year in a developing country, which was the main part of why I chose it because it gave me a chance to go abroad.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, I chose Indonesia. Some of our um, fellow students they went to Jordan. Some of them, couple of them to South America as well,
Mm.
like Colombia, Chile, countries like that. So yeah, like some in the Far East, some in Southeast Asia, and some in South America. And yeah, for me, that experience in Indonesia was just so cool and humbling as well. Just
Mhm.
to I always say, like, that was the first time that I experienced people being, and it's very subjective, but for me, that was the first time people kind of seemed generally happy
Yeah.
because
They don't have much, but they're some of the happiest people alive.
exactly, that's exactly my experience.
Yeah. No, same. So I remember when I first, so I went to Sri Lanka first, and it was my first time in Asia.
Mm,
And yeah, rocked up. Got a taxi drive. It was all dark. I couldn't really see much. I needed to go
mm,
toilet, so the taxi driver pulled over at his mate's shop, and I went into the
right.
bathroom, and it just hit me. I was like, "Holy, these guys are literally 100 years behind us." In
Mm,
terms of water infrastructure, there's just no flushing on the toilets at all.
right.
But yeah, like you said, just some of the happiest people alive because I suppose they know no different, and they've got good values. They prioritize their family and friends. It's all
Yeah.
about love and giving. Yeah, it's a good way to live.
Yeah. I feel like that's definitely one thing which, to an extent, or not even, but I actually comparably find here in New Zealand as well,
Mm, mm,
because it was quite a big contrast to Germany, where I have to say, and the big thing for me, kind of that I just think that might be a difference is, like you said, that they don't have as much and they don't know any different.
mm.
Because I feel like in Germany, because everyone does have such a good life, um, we kind of start taking it for granted and kind of are very protective of it. And as a result of that, people are becoming a little bit more closed off. They're
Mm,
more protective of the things, the wealth that they have accumulated. And uh, that, for some reason, leads to them not being willing to share that wealth, not being willing to share themselves with other people, and all that kind of leads to a thing where um, I'm not saying at all that everyone is just in their own house all the time, but it is a different feeling of community.
yeah.
Because in Indonesia, like you said, that was an immediate thing that I felt like. Um, you were actually welcomed everywhere, and it wasn't like just superficially, but you could feel like, oh, meet my grandparents, meet my, come in. Um, we will, like, you staying for dinner, right? Like those
Yeah.
things were just they were genuinely kind of expected, even because it's just like, yeah, we're all one pretty much.
Yes, definitely. I think also um, there's something exciting. Like they kind of live on the edge of it more, and there's
Hmm.
something really exciting about that. Whereas, yeah, European and Western world runs a bit more conservative. But yeah, they've just got the freedom to live on the edge of it more.
Yeah, but yeah, with all that being said, I kind of felt um coming to New Zealand. it's definitely one, if not the one, uh, most safe or safest place I
Mm,
feel like I've ever been.
mm,
Um, like I just had a feeling, and some of the Kiwis I knew, like, um, the front door is not locked. Like people just sometimes come in, all of a sudden they're in your kitchen, like, oh hey mate, how's it going? And
yeah,
which is a great thing. I was
wouldn't
just
happen in Germany.
not used to at all in Europe.
Yeah.
Mm, also also not in Portugal, where people also, to my understanding, live that community lifestyle a lot more than in Central Europe. Um, but even there, that would be a thing. I mean, I guess you just ring the doorbell and people let you in, but just like that really coming into the home without any borders was a little uncommon to me,
Yeah.
I should say.
So, like, if you were walking down the street, or let's say you're walking on a hiking track, would you acknowledge the person that walks past you if they're a complete stranger in Germany?
Um, well, so I always would.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a lot of things, and definitely. Now I'm gonna sound old, but it definitely used to be part of our traditions as well. But like there's a lot of things that you can do with your body language. So people, they walk towards you and they kind of walk like this, and you kind of get that feeling they don't even want to be greeted.
Mm,
Like they get closer and closer to you and they start going looking down and like
yeah.
hurrying a little bit. Um, and I get that vibe way more, in Germany. People, yeah, on the street, on a hiking trail, kind of just, yeah, minding their own business more. I would still kind of push through that sense of they look like they don't want to say anything, and most of the time when you approach them, they will go, "Oh yeah, good day,"
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but here,
It's just a lot more common here.
but here, like someone's like a few meters away from you. They do look you in the eye and
Mm,
you feel like, "Yes, how you
mm,
doing, mate?" And, like, it feels different.
yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. It's just so used to it. No, I don't really know too much different. So it's nice to hear a different
Right.
perspective. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I actually, and people, listen to the podcast know this, and you probably heard it from what I said, but I love, Asia, and especially Southeast Asia that I had to experience because, I haven't been to any other parts of Asia, as of yet. So when I was in Indonesia, I had the chance to travel a bit myself, and I
Mm,
seen Malaysia and Singapore. I got to see Thailand. Um, Vietnam is one of the ones where I didn't spend any time because I just fell in love with Thailand.
mm,
So I spend like the time I had to travel just there.
yeah.
Um, but I heard so many good things about Vietnam. So
Yeah.
Um, what did you love about Vietnam?
I love the people. Everyone's super friendly. The English isn't great, but
Right.
everyone's just so smiley, happy, you know?
Mm,
So basically, flew into Hanoi, which
right.
is northern Vietnam, and then went up to Sapa, which is like the hiking mecca,
Mm.
and did like a 3 day walk, like a guided walk.
Oh,
So
nice.
that was really cool. I definitely do go to Vietnam. So it's a great way to meet the locals because you're walking through these really remote villages.
Mm.
Um, Different little tribes that all speak their own language, yet they live within
Oh,
kilometers of each other.
they still speak
Yeah,
their
yeah,
own like
yeah,
native languages.
yeah.
That is pretty
It's so cool. And Yeah, so I did that for about 3 days and then came back south to Hanoi and then just bust my way down to Hoi An,
Mhm.
staying at a few places along the way. And yeah, fell in love with Hoi An. Really just good vibe.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, a bit of time in Da Nang, which is not far from Hoi An,
Mhm.
um, is what they call Monkey Mountain.
Monkey
It's
Mountain.
Monkey Mountain, yeah. So there's lots of monkeys up there and some really nice white sand beaches. And yeah, Vietnam, super cool. I'd say it's probably quite similar to Thailand.
Yeah, I can imagine.
What was your favorite parts of Thailand?
So I really enjoyed the north of Thailand. I didn't do like the southeast too much, but I have done like a good trip through Thailand. So we actually arrived in Phuket first, which is
Mm,
like the southern western part, pretty much,
yeah,
and it was super nice. Was my introduction to Thailand. The uh, landscape was just really cool. Like it's different types of forests
yeah,
than you have in well Europe, but also different than the ones in Indonesia.
yeah.
Still, and you also had the beaches, so it was kind of an easy entrance into
Mm,
Thailand. Little bit more chilling as well, but hiking up uh, to the Buddha they have there as well. They have a
mm,
Buddha on top of the mountain, so that was pretty nice. And then from Phuket, you can also already go into the um, I don't know what it's called, but they have like the different islands, the different coves.
mm.
Ko pretty much is only the Thai word for island. So you have like Ko Phi, Ko Phangan,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all these islands there, and um, we took a boat tour, not to any of the islands, but just along the coast towards some of the islands, and the cliffs that you go through there are just so amazing.
Yeah. I've seen some photos. It looks unreal.
So Phuket was super cool, and then so I did that with one part of my friend group, and then I took a flight to Bangkok by myself,
Mm.
where I met up with another friend of mine. She was already there, and I love Bangkok as well. It was
Cool city buzz.
yeah,
Yeah.
and very international as well. So at that point, I was like early 20s. I was really enjoying that, like talking with a lot of different expats and international people from all over the world. And but then just the Thai charm of like their little street food and markets. I fell in love with the Thai street food as well.
That's it, eh? That's it. That's yeah, that's another thing in Vietnam. The food is so
Right.
and yeah, I don't know if Thailand's the same. You've got these little plastic chairs.
Mm,
Um, it's like a restaurant and like a really busy main road. And they've got these little chairs that gradually just work their way out, and by night's end, they're covering the road, so cars can even get through.
right.
And there's all these locals just loving it. But no, yeah, Vietnam food, mm, delicious.
Yeah, that's what they have in Thailand as well. Is
The little chairs.
yeah, and just yeah, like night markets pretty much.
Mm,
So a street where during the day traffic will just commence from a certain point. It will just transform fully into a market,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, mostly food, but it's
Mm,
also like arts and crafts. But yeah, a lot of it actually was just really, really yummy street food,
mm,
and that they had along those markets.
yeah,
Um,
so good, especially when it's so cheap.
that that's also what I kind of first saw in Southeast Asia, but then actually was kind of surprised to rediscover in Portugal as well, is because I actually haven't been going out too much in New Zealand, but I can imagine it being similar to Germany,
Mm.
where you go into a restaurant, you kind of expect a certain vibe. You know, you kind of want it to look nice to a certain extent. You want like, I don't know, wooden chairs, you know, some decoration maybe. Um, and in Southeast Asia, no, you just need a place to sit down. You know, you're coming for the food.
Literally, all it is the food. Food and
And
the company.
exactly. And actually, I was quite positively surprised that in Portugal, it's kind of the same because the best places, in my opinion, the most delicious places are the ones where looking in, you or not me, but like people might not feel like it's a great restaurant vibe, you know, like plastic tables, plastic chairs, but then it's the cheapest food and the best food, you know,
Yeah,
because they just concentrate on the food. They don't care about how they look. And it is actually kind of, it's not a chain, but it's kind of a sign of good quality in Portugal. They just have this red triangle, which basically just means it's like a cafeteria kind of thing. Um, but it just means it's like a local eatery. So
oh, cool.
when you just see a just white background with a red triangle, and they have them all over Portugal. You know, you can go in there because cheap prices and very good food.
It is really good to know. Yeah, I'm so keen to go to Portugal.
Sure.
What places would you recommend?
Um, I mean, obviously, having lived in Lisbon and it is the capital, you definitely need to see Lisbon. It's obviously also one of the
Which is near the coast?
yes, it's well, basically, it's at on the river, but the river goes into the sea. So,
Right.
um, because if you're in the city center, you do see water, but the water you see on one side is the Rio Tejo, so the river Tejo,
Mm.
and then if you go more to Belém, which is part of the city of Lisbon, a beautiful part, so you should definitely go to Belém. It's more traditional, and it also has the Torre de Belém, so the Tower of Belém, which is um, one of the landmarks there as well. Um, so once you're there, you're already kind of at the sea. So that's basically where the river meets the sea is in Belém.
Oh,
And also in Belém, you have the original birthplace of the pastel de nata, which is the Portuguese way to say it. The Brazilians would say pastel de nata, but I just know one of my Brazilian friends might listen to this, and
okay.
he would frown at my Portuguese accent. Um, so it's like a nice kind of egg tart that they have in Portugal, and it's like their traditional dessert, and it's called pastel de nata nowadays, but it was actually called pastel de Belém because that's where it got started, and in Belém, very close to the Tower of Belém, actually, you have the original bakery where it was invented in 18 something.
Mm.
Um, you can definitely recognize the place by the line that is formed in front of it. But I mean, it's a obviously touristy thing, and you can get really good pastels everywhere in Portugal. But it's kind of cool to be like I was at the place where it all got started. Um,
And quite cheap compared to the rest of Europe,
yes.
from what I've heard.
I mean, no, still, it's definitely, especially if we're talking about things like drinks and food, um, going out for drinks and food, definitely cheaper than Central Europe and kind of on the same scale as Spain and Italy, places like that. Um, it did actually, like, going to the supermarket got more expensive, especially in the time I was there. Um, so during and post COVID, you could definitely see how prices spiked in the supermarket. And it led to this weird thing where um, going out kind of came even a little bit cheaper than cooking yourself. Um, but yeah, if we're talking about, because it's kind of part of their culture, just sitting in a cafe, sitting at a bar, watching the sunset, watching the beach, having a beer. So like, uh, beer and wine is relatively cheap. It's like between €1 and €1.50 for a beer and a wine, which
Wow,
would translate to like $3,
crazy. Yeah, it's pretty
something
good.
like that. Um, so yeah, it's kind of these things are still cheap because of people just doing them. It's part of their culture. They meet outside, they meet in the streets, they hang around in the streets. They have, like, in Lisbon, you have a lot of uh bars just next to, uh well, they're called plazas, so like just squares pretty much.
Mm.
And people just grab a beer at the place, and then they stand in the plaza and they talk to each other. And um yeah, I
Cool.
don't want to spend too much time on Lisbon though, but so it's definitely a place full of life and a busy place as well. So I had to say, obviously, it's also nowadays very touristy, but I also enjoyed Porto, which is in the north of Portugal.
Right.
Um, it's the second biggest city, but it had a way calmer vibe to it. So basically, talking to Portuguese people and also people like myself living in Portugal for a long time, there's always this debate between Lisbon and Porto. And I loved living in Lisbon, but I always said I think I'm more on the Team Porto side
Mm.
because I like calm cities. It's a more narrow city as well, so you have like narrow streets. It's like, to me, the city itself just. So I will always say Porto, the city itself, is the attraction, and in Lisbon, the life of Lisbon is the
Mm.
attraction, pretty much. So, um, yeah, definitely, if you enjoy like older historic cities, Porto is definitely one to check out as well. And then, well, for you, you definitely have to check out Nazaré,
Ah,
uh,
yes.
which is written Nazareth, which you probably know about because of its waves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
massive wave. Yeah, and that's closest to is Nazare, is that a city?
Yes. So that's relatively close to Lisbon. We by car, I think it was like 2 hours I took to get it. So it's like between Lisbon and Porto, pretty much. Is Nazaré, and yeah, you can definitely their beaches are long and
Mm.
massive, and you can because the city itself is up on the hill as well.
Mm.
So you basically look down onto the beach. Obviously, you can go down to the beaches, but if you're in the city, it's just cool to look down at the beach because then you can really see how big the waves are because you're looking from above and you see them just crashing down onto the beaches. And
Yeah, it always looks so much bigger from high above.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was quite a cool thing. And even closer to Lisbon, so before Nazaré, is a very tiny fisherman village called Ericeira,
Okay,
and that one's also just very cute and nice to check out.
cool.
So yeah, these places basically are all on the coast. So you're going from Lisbon to Ericeira to Nazaré, and then eventually Porto, which he isn't fully at the coast, but it's not that far
Mm.
away from the coast. And to give you my absolute favorite, was down south. So the south coast of Portugal, the whole region is called the Algarve, and there are some more touristy cities, which again people like because of their nightlife, like Albufeira, for example. But I didn't like it too much because it's like, not to generalize, but a lot of British people, and a lot of British drinking culture, which again people seem to enjoy, and it has beautiful beaches. But my favorite in there was Lagos.
Oh, gosh.
So Lagos or Lagos with the Portuguese accent um, is the calmest of the southern cities, and also so beautiful, and
Mm.
has also a few running tracks along the coast that start from the city, so you can um, also hike and walk along the
Mm.
coast there nicely. Also beautiful beaches, and
It's a bit warmer down there too, right?
yes,
Yeah.
it's year round. Basically, you got like very very mild temperatures. I think. Um, I don't want to lie, but very rarely does it get below 20 degrees Celsius down there.
Mm.
So it's really really mild temperatures. Um,
Cool.
so yeah, those would be my recommendations. And because the South Coast was where I was basically going on vacation from Lisbon, even though it's kind of in a place like that feels like you're living in paradise already.
Yeah.
But then going down to the south, like I enjoyed my week in Lagos a lot. It was it's a very calm and nice place.
So your family still live in Germany,
Yeah,
that you spend quite a lot of time in Portugal
yeah. So
when you're in Europe?
basically, what happened was I always kind of wanted to go abroad. I
Mm.
told you about my studies, and I
Mm.
kind of
That
choose
helped
them
you?
to get abroad. Even before that, I spent during my high school. I spent 1 year in the United States. So also during that kind of set system of you had to go to school, I was finding a way to go abroad,
Mm.
because in Germany you could do a gap year between grade 10 and 11 if you yeah, go through like all the things, have to fill out forms and stuff. And so I found that out, and I was like, yeah, I would love to do a gap year between grade 10 and 11 and spend a year in a high school in the United States. So even during my education journey, I was always finding these ways to go abroad. And then when I finished my studies, I actually wanted to do another gap years, traveling the world. So
Mm.
that's what I planned for, just to travel the world. But then COVID hit,
Ah.
because I finished like in October 2019, and basically just started working in a warehouse, getting some money. To then go, like April of 2020 was the month that I was aiming to leave. And yeah, then with COVID, first I was like, yeah, just wait it out. In a couple of months, it's gone. It wasn't. So yeah, in July 2020 is so like in the middle of COVID, like directly in the middle of COVID. I decided, okay, I'm not gonna go for world travel. I can't. But I also don't want to stay in Germany just because of I already had that mindset of going to
Mm.
travel. And frankly, Germany also was very restrictive during COVID, so there was a lot of lockdowns and stuff that made life not that enjoyable.
Mm.
Where in Portugal you didn't have any of those things. So that's what led to me pursuing a career, not a career, but I found a job um, in Portugal that I was able to do, and yeah, that's basically how I ended up there, and
Interesting.
um, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I haven't heard any bad things about Portugal. Yeah. I was heading out to Moat Lake a couple of days ago,
Right.
and there's a hitchhiker just sort of, it's just as you turn out of Queenstown City, really. Pulled over, and yeah, he was doing there as a grade 10 to 11. You get their gap year. He was from
Oh,
Germany.
yeah.
Yeah, he was doing exactly what you were doing, but in New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he filled me in on a bit of the German schooling system,
Right.
and yeah,
Oh, that's pretty cool,
yeah,
man,
yeah,
that that happened.
it was cool, and he ended up coming out to Moat Lake with me.
Right.
We had dinner together, and
Nice.
really nice guy. Taught me a bit of German, some words I probably shouldn't say on here.
I was about to say that's probably always the words that people learn first. Otherwise,
Starts with S.
yes, don't say
Another
it.
one.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Um, but that again shows us how small this world actually is, right?
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
funny, how sometimes things happen and we're like, "Oh, yeah."
But yeah, he was saying that like a couple of his mates had done the exact same thing. So it's obviously quite common for Germans to do that.
Yeah. I mean, in my school and grade, it was 3 of us that actually took advantage of it. But, yeah, I mean, just having it as an opportunity
Mm,
obviously, encourages people to do it rather than some countries where it might not even be offered. So, the number of people doing it is 0. So,
yeah.
just offering it, definitely encourages it. And
And you get so much more. It's hard to say, but you get so much out of it. Traveling alone, like a bit more time to really think about what you actually want to do in life too.
yeah, and especially, I think for me, it really helped me early on to, um, be, like, be okay and be happy with being alone and on
Yeah.
my own, which is a saying, that a few of my friends, still struggle with to this day, and I talk with them and I understand where they're coming from. But I guess in the sense I just, yeah, got lucky that I had these experiences I turned like 16 a month before I did the gap year in the States. So I'm
Wow.
16 years old. I'm on a plane. I don't know who this host family is that's going to greet me at the airport. And yeah, it was just a really good experience to see, well, the only person that, and obviously my family and friends are always there in Germany and I can
Mm,
call them up at any time. And it's not like I am alone. Like maybe some people actually are because of unfortunate reasons. They don't have a family anymore. So I
mm,
do have these people that I can reach out to. But at the end, wherever you are with yourself.
mm,
And um, the sooner you get comfortable with that, I feel like it really um, improves your life experience in general as well. Because if you're happy with yourself, you're just so much more happy with the people around you as well. And I feel
mm.
like that, um, yeah, just radiates out. And um, yeah, so I was just,
Where else in America did you go?
um, so I spent the high school year in Virginia.
Oh yeah.
In Well, actually, the town's called Farmville, like the Facebook game. It was Farmville, Virginia.
Is it named after a place? Or
Uh, Probably not. There's probably a bunch of Farmvilles around, the
sounds like quite
States,
a common farm
but
community name.
it actually was quite well, I mean, it was a town, but it was quite big, like 200,000 or something.
Oh
So
wow.
it wasn't like a complete rural thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, Farmville.
Cool, cool. And that was 1 year.
That was 1 year.
Nice. That's yeah, definitely such a good thing to do at that young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't asked you too many questions in this
Just keep
conversation.
bouncing them at you.
Um, let me
It's
see.
time 1 hour.
Because yeah, I mean, we discovered during our conversation that I studied engineering as well. So, well, environmental engineering. So when you said you studied civil engineering, I was just also interested. As with most things, I'm always interested in the why. So what motivates people? So what was it that led you into civil engineering?
Yeah, I was never one of those kids that knew what they wanted to be straight away. It probably wasn't until my last year of high school even that I decided on engineering.
Right.
Um, yeah, I've always been really interested in the why, how everything works.
Hmm.
So I was heavy in either sort of science or engineering. And yeah, I thought engineering would be a better option, just like it's just quite well respected.
Right.
I love that sort of problem solving approach. Um, and yeah, civil engineering, I I actually graduated with natural resources engineering,
Oh.
which is very similar to civil. We only did two different papers over the course of a degree. We've actually the year I graduated was the final year that they uh, graduated natural resources students. Now they've changed it just to civil with a minor
Hmm.
and an environmental and water management or something like that. But yeah, I was always like being loving the ocean. I love the water, love the environment.
Right.
Um, so yeah, my final year of study, I really focused on the water papers, which is funny. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize civil's got lots of different facets. You know, like there's
Mm.
traffic or transport, structural, geotech, water.
It is
It's
quite
like
broad of
yeah,
a thing.
yeah, it's very broad. And yeah, I just literally wouldn't know where to start with structural or geotech because all my papers and in water.
Yeah.
Um, so really, yeah, probably better off saying water engineering. But yeah, that's kind of how I came to that. Uh, looking back on it, maybe I would have studied something a bit different. But I think the good thing about engineering is, yeah, I guess I feel like it's quite well respected, um, broad. So yeah,
Well, Oscar, we talked about a lot of things, a lot of interesting and valuable stuff. So thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate you taking the time and doing this with me.
no, thanks for having me, Mike. All the best for your future travel in Australia. And yeah, it's been great chatting with you today. You're a great conversationalist. Yeah, and
Thank
I
you.
wish you best with this podcast and whatever you end up doing down the line.
Cool. And well, obviously, I hope you get to go to Portugal and
Yes.
enjoy that. And yeah, whatever happens, all the best to you as well.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. So enjoy the rest of your day and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.